Listen to A World of Difference on bluesandrootsradio.com, the essential channel, and we started this thing a week or two ago where we were identifying ace women guitarists, and a nominee for an ace women guitarist was Karen MacLeod, and I got instructions to come along to an unnumbered door opposite a tattoo parlour in a suburb of Nottingham, and that's where I am now, in the company of Karen MacLeod, and we'll be talking to her in a minute, but she's going to start us off with a tune, I think, of your own devising, Karen, is that right?
Yep, it's called The Wind on the Sea.
Performed exclusively for bluesandrootsradio.com. That's Karen MacLeod and The Wind on the Sea. Beautifully, beautifully done. Now, in Nottingham here, we couldn't be further from the sea in the UK if we tried. What was the inspiration for that tune? Were you imagining the seaside, or were you in a lovely place when you wrote it?
I don't know, all my tunes start off with just a bit of a tickling around with something and then it turns into something else. But I think it's got... I mean, my surname is MacLeod. I've got some kind of access to Scottish roots, I think, and it reminds me of sort of Scottish folky stuff somehow. I don't know.
That certainly does, yeah. But you're probably best known not for tunes with a Scottish heritage, but the blues. It's been a bit of a love of your life for a little while. Tell me how you got into the blues in the first place.
I suppose my dad was in a skiffle group. We used to live in Pakistan for a couple of years, and he had a skiffle group, which is a strange place to have a skiffle group, but and he played guitar, and they had I think they had one of those teach us bass things, and so basically he used to sing me sort of American folk tunes and stuff like that when I was a kid. I remember being 5 years old, and he used to come and sing me to sleep with various songs by, I don't know, Hank Williams and some country stuff as well. But it was my brother that got into the actual playing the guitar, and he and I used to, we used to listen to the old LPs and then play them, instead of playing them at 33 RPM, play them at 16, slow it all down, and then listen out and then pick out the actual notes and learn it that way. So we've neither he nor I have ever had a lesson in our life, but we're all sort of well, learnt from tablature at times, but yeah. So it's kind of starts as a passion that's somehow family based, I think, really.
And you've studied it in some depth in a way. I'm looking at a kind of a book that I think you were very much part of producing, called Boxcar Sing-Along, Songs for Hobos and Tramps, Bums and Boomers, Wobblies and Wanderers, Riff-Raff and Rabble-Rousers. Which are you?
All of the above.
All of the above. How did this book come along?
That book really was devised by a guy called Baltimore Red, who is a union activist. He's a railroad, or he's a train engineer in the States, and he's also the guy I went hoboing with. So it was devised really for gatherings, so that everybody had a songbook to sing from, and my part of it was just to put all the chords in the right place from all the words. So we collected all these old songs, listened to them on YouTube, and I'd figure out so that it could be passed around and people would know what chords to play. So it could be like a sort of social event, really, and that's the purpose of the book. A bit like a kind of a socialist hymn book, I suppose.
You went hoboing with a guy called Baltimore Red. That sounds like a lot of fun. I suspect there were ups and downs along the way. What kind of journey was it?
Well, it took several weeks. We went out from Bluefield, West Virginia, right through on the High Line, which is the Burlington Northern route. It was known as the High Line in the old days, really, because it's from east to west, and it was the most northerly railroad line. And we went out to Chelan, ultimately in Washington State, to pick apples. So it's like the 1930s transposed into the 1980s. But last time I did it was 2010, so I've been back and forth and done a bit more.
And sometimes with the connivance and permission of the guard or whatever they have there, or was it entirely...
It varied as you crossed from the east coast engineer. The railroad folk there weren't as amenable to you doing it as out west. It was much more easygoing, and they were more helpful. So, yeah, I mean, it depends. When we got arrested in Chicago, because it was known, that's what's known as a hot yard when the police are around, the railroad bulls, and I think they'd actually been doing some people who got done the night before, so we were forewarned, but we were still hiding out in the wrong place at the wrong time, and we got held up at gunpoint. It was really terrifying because it had like six guns pointing at your heads, and they yelled out, "Come out or we'll blow your heads off." And it was, yeah. I remember that quite vividly.
I'm sure you do. Yes, it was. It's one heck of a rail hub, isn't it? Chicago. It is where sort of America kind of meets there in the Midwest, I guess, and
yes.
You get to all kinds of places from there. But as you say in your kind of log that I've got in front of me here, changes in the weather made travelling pretty unpleasant and hazardous at times too. There's no way of avoiding the rain if you're riding a grain carrier or a coal car. I mean, I had no idea that you were doing it for real, as it were.
Yeah, well, we went through the Moffat Tunnel, which is about 6 or 7 miles long. I think that's through the Continental Divide. It's one of the longest tunnels, I think. I think the Cascade Tunnel's the longest one through the mountains. And so, for a start, you're getting choked up with smoke and diesel fuels and all the rest of the fumes, and you come out the other end into driving rain. It wasn't a very nice part of the journey.
So you're sitting in an open wagon at this point, or on the roof of something?
So, like, if you're in a grain carrier, you sit at the front, because obviously the grain carrier's actually got bulk around the edge, isn't it? If you think of what it looks like, and you're just pinned into the front area, you can't really stretch out. You're like, I don't know, it's like sitting on a step, really, and it's really uncomfortable. The best deal is to get a car carrier where they've got trucks in the back, so that you're hidden. If you're going through a station or where you could be seen, you could duck down in the back of the truck. And then, I was on a train like that for 36 hours, and so you never. Rule number one is you never get on a freight train without a gallon of water, at least. Because you don't know when it's going to stop.
Of course,
yeah.
yes.
And another time when we were travelling, the switches went, and the train was going to start going north, and we needed to go south, so we had to make a snap decision and jump off the thing because it was picking up speed, and that was that wrecked my clothes. It was ripped to shreds, because I didn't hit the ground running, as you say. I went over like a sack of spuds.
Yeah. And Baltimore Red was a kind of a union activist, a socialist.
He was a socialist initially, a hobo, and then he started to work on the freight trains themselves and drive them, and then he became a passenger engineer. So he works for Amtrak now. So I probably shouldn't say too much about him in case he loses his job. Yeah.
Yeah, because it wasn't easy, I guess, being a kind of a left-wing activist in the United States. Probably still isn't easy now, is it?
Well, they've got... I mean, he runs... I mean, the unions over there have been... are not the same... Well, they're not the same as they were here either, aren't they, anymore? But...
That's true. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, take me back to the music then, and the kind of the music that kind of informs your interest in sort of this way of life, and the kind of the blues music that you play. It's a kind of a country blues that you specialise in, isn't it? And you've had quite a career in the realm of country blues.
Yeah, I started out, I suppose, being a bedroom player. I sort of knew it would open doors, being able to play the guitar, when I went to the States, and I went over there and did an MA. So it was kind of like I never went home or went anywhere without a guitar. But in those days, I didn't really play out much. It was like, I suppose, I used to spend an awful lot of time listening to the music, and I just did love it. And really, in some regards, it seems wrong to try and reproduce it in a I don't know, I mean, in the sense that, you can't play it as well as the original, why bother? There's that question.
Who did you particularly admire? Who did you study? Who did you want to be in the blues?
Well, Memphis Minnie, I suppose.
somebody everywhere he lay.
But my influences really were just learning the alternating bass that was going around. I mean, Stefan Grossman did more to help people get off the ground doing stuff. You know, it was like the Bert Weedon of his day in terms of getting people playing alternating bass style, and Mississippi John Hurt was accessible. You know, as a folk singing, alternating bass blues player. I mean, it was just delightful, and I liked so many of his songs that once you have something you really want to be able to play, then you're prepared to put the time in and learn how to do it. So you learn your trade that way by just keep practicing it because you like it so much, you know.
I remember Stefan Grossman touring with Joanne Kelly, who was a remarkable guitarist. She was one of the first exponents, wasn't she, of sort of slide guitar, I seem to recall, in the UK. Bit of a pioneer there, and sister of Dave Kelly, who was in the blues band with Paul Jones and people like that.
Yeah, I saw him at the Carrington. But Joanne Kelly was the best album she did was with Tony McPhee, in my opinion. It was
He of the Groundhogs.
Yeah, I mean that was a brilliant album. It was vinyl. My brother used to have it. I don't know if he still got it, but yeah, she had an incredible voice and a really strong player. And I think it was the mix of those two voices together and the sort of power that it played with that made that work.
See what the Lord has done. Look, just look, yeah. See what the Lord has done. Lordy, well, look. See what the Lord has done. And I know, Lord, and I know my time is long. Oh, it seemed, Lordy, one morning, they come creeping in the room. Soon, one morning, they come in the room, Lordy, well soon. They come creeping in the room, and I know that my time is long. Oh, death, down that lonesome road. Yeah, oh, death, yeah, down that lonesome road, Lordy, well, death. Down that lonesome road, and I know, Lord, I know my time is long. Look yonder, down that lonesome road, Lordy, when yonder, oh yonder, down that lonesome road, one morning, oh yeah, down that lonesome road, and I know, Lord, I know my time is long. Oh look, Lordy, well look, see what the Lord has done. Look, just look, yeah. See what the Lord has done, my Lordy, well look, oh look. See what the Lord has done, and I know, Lord, I know my time is long.
That's Oh Death by Joanne Kelly and Tony McPhee, played at the suggestion of Karen MacLeod, who welcomed me to her home just a couple of weeks ago here in Nottingham to talk about hoboing and the blues. Do you fancy give us an example of alternating bass? on your guitar?
Yeah.
No is a perfectly acceptable answer. But if you fancy doing it,
Yes, I do.
then that would be nice. Your choice.
My choice. This is Joliet Blues. Always come with a ball and chain. Yeah, the police come with a ball and chain, accusing me of murder. Well, I ain't never harmed a man. Well, now some got 6 months, some got a solid year. Yeah, now some got 6 months, some got a solid year. But me and my buddy, we got a lifetime here. Well, the lawyer pleaded, the clerk he wrote it down. Yeah, the lawyer pleaded, the clerk he wrote it down. If I sentence you, you must be Joliet bound. Well, now fix my supper and let me go to bed. Won't you fix my supper and let me go to bed? I've been drinking white wine and it's all gone to my head. Well, now at my trial you could not be found. Yeah, now at my trial you could not be found. I done got all messed up and now I'm Joliet bound.
Hey, live and exclusively for A World of Difference on bluesandrootsradio.com. Karen McLeod, thank you for that. That was very nifty stuff indeed. There's a little kind of critique here about your sensitive and essentially bluesy picking, and I think that's exactly what we heard. Great stuff, great stuff. Now, you've performed at Glastonbury.
Yeah, in the Bread and Roses stage, in the most important place where the beer is served. So. But,
And that was with an outfit called the Hog Renderers?
yeah, Gordon and I were the Hog Renderers, and he also used to sing with Wholesome Fish, and we were spotted playing at the Tilt Blues and Cocktail Bar in Nottingham, and sort of talent spotted and asked if we wanted to play at Glastonbury, and this was like sometime in the November, and so we gave our details, didn't really think any more about it, and then next thing I knew, I found myself having to ask for time off work so I could go and play at Glastonbury, which they fortunately gave to me, and it was a horrendously hot day when we actually played. It was 2015, and a lot of the audience weren't even inside the tent because it was too hot, so it wasn't exactly playing to a massive crowd, but obviously the sound travelled, and it was good fun, except for I was so hot, and this has never happened before or since, but I was so sweaty that my thumb pick flew off in the middle of a song and I had to stop, which wasn't very professional, and then I dropped my tuner into a pint of beer, so
Oh dear, well, yeah, that probably didn't work too well after that.
no, so a tale of
There we are. Well, this is rock and roll. This is a rock and roll lifestyle, like the sound of it. It really is. Oh, but what a great thing to have on the CV. Yeah, I played at Glastonbury.
Yeah.
You were a teacher, weren't you? So did your students get to know that Miss was having time off to play at Glastonbury?
Yes.
You must have gone up in their
yes,
estimation more than somewhat.
yeah. I suppose it did make a difference. Yeah.
Oh, you probably did. Hey, our teacher's really cool. And the Hog Renderers have got recorded material. You've got to had a CD out.
2 CDs. The first one was called "If Blues Were Whiskey." There's a song called there was a song called "If Blues Were Whiskey," but the engineer wrote it down wrong on his computer, so we decided we'd just go with that title, so it's "If Whiskey Were Blues."
I lose my worrying mind, and if blue were whiskey, I believe I lose my mind. 'Cause I'm worried, I'm bothered, I'm drinking all the time. Got on that evening train, and I never cried. The girl got on the train, and the tears fell down, the Lord, like showers of rain. I believe I'll quit these low down ways. I believe I'll quit these low down ways. Till I feel myself go sinking in the grave. Got Elden movement from her head and down to her toes. She got Elden movement, head down to her toe. She'll break her 20 about anywhere she goes. If blue were whiskey, I believe I lose my worrying mind. And if blue were whiskey, I believe I lose my mind. I'm worried, I'm bothered, I'm drinking all the time. I'm worried, I'm bothered, I'm drinking all the time. I'm worried, I'm bothered, I'm drinking all the time.
That's If Blues Were Whiskey by the Hog Renderers, which is kind of a title track from an album called If Whiskey Were Blues, for reasons previously discussed during this discussion with Karen MacLeod. She's based in Nottingham, and it was a delight to meet her recently to talk about her love of the blues and hoboing round the United States of America. If you want to know more about the Hog Renderers, by the way, you should be able to find them very easily. Hog Renderers, they're on Bandcamp, and you can listen to their music there and indeed download the tracks for free. Back to my discussion with Karen MacLeod. And I'm looking at something in your folder here about a hobo convention. What happens at a hobo convention?
It's just one of those tacky American touristy attraction things where people are supposed to... people flock to go to it because hobos are, I suppose, a bit iconoclastic, aren't they? They're sort of American folk heroes, so it's all been taken over and made touristy, but... They vote for a king and queen hobo every year. So it's a bit like, I suppose, the Rose of Tralee for Ireland, that sort of thing.
So partly rooted in genuine history and partly a bit tacky for the tourists.
Yeah, so some people I knew did a separate one. They didn't want to go to that, and so they just had their own gathering where everybody would arrive by freight. They wouldn't turn up in, their cars and things. They'd arrive there having done some freight hopping to get there in the first place.
Yeah. So we've had the Hog Renderers, Sanders and MacLeod, and you've got... what are you currently involved in, Karen, musically?
Well, I'm supporting Edwina Muir, I think it is, in January. I've got various gigs on a solo, go out and do sort of blues and roots, bluegrassy sort of title, I suppose, because I do a mix of American folk songs as well as blues, and my own material. I write songs too. So I have that ongoing, and also I'm working on getting together a CD of instrumental material and not anything to do with blues, just my own compositions, which I suppose are, they are varied, and they don't. I do some covers of songs that people would recognise as instrumentals, but mainly it's my own stuff, which has been a lifetime project. So I've been putting it off because I don't want to mess it up, and you want to do something perfectly and you don't actually get around to starting it. So I must do that because it'll be a legacy. You can't die with your music still in you, as they say.
Somebody told me once, perfectionists get less done.
Well, I have a deadline because I want to do some of these tunes. One of them, I've done a version of Hobo's Lullaby, which is by Utal Phillips. It's a beautiful song, and I turned it just into an instrumental for my godson's baby that's on the way, and I want to make them a CD of some lullabies and instrumental stuff. So I have a deadline by September when the baby's due.
Go to sleep, you weary hobo. Let the towns drift slowly by. Can't you hear the steel rails humming? That's the hobo's lullaby. I know your clothes are torn and ragged, and your hair is turning gray. Lift your head and smile at trouble. You'll find peace and rest someday. Now don't you worry about tomorrow. Let tomorrow come and go. Tonight you're in a nice warm boxcar, safe from all that wind and snow. I know the police cause you trouble. They cause trouble everywhere. But when you die and go to heaven, you'll find no policeman there. So go to sleep, you weary hobo. Let the towns drift slowly by. Listen to the steel rails humming. That's the hobo's lullaby. Listen to the steel rails humming. That's the hobo's lullaby.
Hobo's Lullaby, that version by the Wainwright sisters. We look forward very much indeed to hearing Karen MacLeod's instrumental version of that on a CD which will be released, well, sometime in the future, maybe later this year. You're listening to bluesandrootsradio.com, the Essential Channel. My name's Roger Williams and I'm in discussion with Karen MacLeod. Well, we definitely should hear one of your compositions, and there's two ways we could do that. You could either kind of give me one off a CD or an MP3 to play, or you could pick up your guitar again. Again, I don't want to put pressure on you.
How about if I play something from a previous incarnation with Sanders and MacLeod, because there's a song I wrote called Glory Train, along with this whole theme of trains, which is it features me and Martin Sanders on. He plays slide. Should I play that?
That's the Karen MacLeod composition Glory Train, performed by Sanders and MacLeod. Well, it's an absolute delight to meet Karen MacLeod for the first, I hope not the last time. She just lives 3 or 4 miles away from me, so I hope our paths will cross again sooner rather than later. Well, Karen MacLeod, thanks ever so much for your time. It's a delight to meet you. First time we've met, hopefully not the last. I must come and see you live sometime soon.
Definitely.
Thank you for spending time talking to Blues and Roots Radio.
Thoroughly enjoyed it, thank you.
Not too much of an ordeal.
No, rather unexpected. It's not my normal way of spending a Tuesday afternoon, but there you go.
Choose a track of yours from one of your albums that we can play out on.
So, probably a Hog Renderers track. Something cheerful. Candyman. Run, get the pitcher, get the baby some beer. Run, get the pitcher, get the baby some beer. Run, get the pitcher, get the baby some beer. Run, get the pitcher, get the baby some beer. Run, get the pitcher, get the baby some beer. Run, get the pitcher, get the baby some beer. Wish I was back in New Orleans in a candy stand. Candyman,
Candyman,
Solido,
Solido,
Candyman,
Candyman,
say Solido,
Solido,
Candyman,
Candyman,
Solido.
Solido.
I wish I was back in New Orleans
sitting on the candy stand.
Well, he's got a stick of candy, say 9-inch long. Got a stick of candy, say 9-inch long. He's got a stick of candy, 9-inch long. Well, I wish I was back in New Orleans in a candy stand. Candyman,
Candyman,
Solido,
Solido,
Candyman, say
Candyman,
Solido,
Solido,
Candyman,
Candyman,
Solido.
Solido.
I wish I was back in New Orleans sitting on the candy stand. I wish I was back in New Orleans
Sitting on the candy stand.
I wish I was back in New Orleans sitting on a candy stand.
And Candyman by the Hog Renderers brings to an end my discussion with Karen MacLeod. Karen, it was a delight to meet you. Hope we can meet up again, hope our paths cross before too long. You're only just down the road, so we can make that happen, can't we? Thanks for your time and your excellent tea-making abilities.